Hi there everyone, it's Isaac here from Sports Addict, and I just thought I'd do a video of if the season ended right now, everything as it currently is, Arsenal win the league, City second, United third, Newcastle fourth, Tottenham fourth, fifth, all that jazz, who would be the team of the season right now, based on current form. So I've come up with a full 11, I've just gone for a base 4-3-3, and then I've also picked a bench, and I'll also name a manager of the season. I think we all know who that's going to be, but we'll get to that last. So in goal, I've gone with Nick Pope. Nick Pope has arguably led Newcastle to where they are in the league currently. They're up there with the big boys in terms of clean sheets. I think they're second or third in terms of how many they've got. Nick Pope, did go down last season with Burnley, but he's obviously shown a real fight back to come and show that he's still got it as a keeper. I always thought he was never going to play in the Championship, in my opinion. He's too good for the Championship, so I knew someone was going to pick him up. It was surprising that it was Newcastle, considering the amount of money they had. I thought they were going to go out and buy, I thought they were going to bring in like a Oblak or a Bunu or someone like that, a big name, to really bolster that, bring in a lot of experience. But they did choose Pope, and that has proved to be the correct decision because obviously they've done really well. Other honourable mentions, obviously Aaron Ramsdale, Arsenal top of the league, first time in seems like forever that they've been top of the league for this long, all looking like they're going to win it. But I just think in terms of the impact they've had on the team, obviously Arsenal's defence is a lot better than Newcastle's, with the greatest of respect to Newcastle, but Arsenal's defence is just better, as we will get onto further in the video. And that's why I think Pope has been arguably the better goalkeeper in terms of clean sheets, big chances saved. His distribution's brilliant. Not that Ramsdale's isn't. Not that Ramsdale doesn't make big saves. But I just think Pope this season has had a better season in terms of his own personal season. If you look at the season as a whole, Ramsdale has had a better season because he's about to win the league. But Nick Pope has had a better season because he's brought Newcastle from nearly relegation last season to fighting for European football. I think they'll get Conference League personally, based on, the other teams around them and the lack of squad depth. But any European football is massive for Newcastle, and I think he's had a chance. He didn't play so much in the cup games, but he didn't play in the final because he was suspended, but he was going to play in the final. Could he have had I think if he played in the final, Man United, they're my club, but I think they struggled to win that a lot more than they did. We looked comfortable on the day, but I think even with Pope in goal, we struggled to win that, and I think that was a massive mistake. It was a stupid red card as well. What was he thinking? But anyway, we'll go across the defence. So left back, I have gone for an Arsenal player in Alexander Zinchenko. Obviously didn't play that much last season, either through injury or João Cancelo being put on the left. He didn't know that João Cancelo was going to leave, so he maybe would have had a look in from January to now, starting in the team, because obviously he was second choice. He would have then become first choice, maybe. But I don't think with where he is currently in his career, where he's in his mid-20s, he's gonna come up on his prime soon. At that time he couldn't have been playing second fiddle to the position. He needed to get regular game time. He needed to get full 90 minutes under his belt, and he needed to keep pushing to make himself even better. There are some players that are happy just sitting on the bench, but I don't think Zinchenko's got that attitude. Zinchenko's got the attitude of like Bruno Fernandes, not in terms of the whinging, which we've seen a lot of this season, but in terms of he wants to play every game, he wants to play every 90 minutes, unless of injury, of course. But he wants to keep playing and keep playing. He strikes me as the player that would play 90 minutes every single day if he was asked to. He would do that, Obviously, captains the sides. That's, something that's not often seen. A big summer transfer comes in. Captains the side after what happens in Ukraine, stuff like that. And he's been really defensively solid as well. A couple of injuries, obviously, have happened throughout the season, but that's bound to happen with a player. People get injuries, people get knocks, people pull things, people twist things, whatever. It's bound to happen. But in the games he's played, he's looked defensively solid. Has displaced Tierney, who did look like a mainstay in that Arsenal squad, which is quite impressive to say that Tierney was often heralded as one of the best left-backs of our current generation. not so much generation, of our current, the past 5 years. And Zinchenko's displaced him. Took a lot of guts to leave City. You know, when he left City, they were winning title after title. They were doing really well. They were playing regular every season in Europe. They were advancing well into tournaments, and they were doing. And it took a lot of courage to leave City to go to Arsenal, who were struggling a bit for regular game time. But look, they're top of the league. They're not in any competition anymore, but they're gonna be in the Champions League next season. They're probably going to win the Premier League, which is massive, off City. So he's left City to join Arsenal and then taken the title off City. So he's proven himself right that it was the right decision. They're not in any cup competitions anymore, but that does allow them to focus on the league. And I think they will advance far into the cup competitions next season. So yeah, that's why I think Zinchenko this season again has been the best left back out there. Centre back. My first centre-back, I've gone for William Saliba. Didn't get much of a look in the Arsenal squad a couple of years ago. Wasn't given the chance really. He just kept sending out on loan. Had a really good season last season at Rennes, I think it was. He had a really impressive loan spell. Was like the best young player in Ligue 1 last season. Which, you know, when you got Mbappe, who's not a young player anymore, but he is still technically a young player. He's under 23 at the time, which is massive to say. You know, he's there. He's come back to Arsenal and he's done really well. I don't really rate Gabriel as a centre back. I think he's good, but I think if you don't have Saliba next to him, I think he looks defensively poor. I mean, we've seen when he plays alongside Rob Holding quite often in cup competitions, it looks shaky. And I just think it's like when you play Lindelof with Maguire, it doesn't work. But when you play Lindelof with Martinez or Varane, it works. They just complement each other somehow. And Gabriel and Saliba do complement each other really well in terms of the style of play, their attributes, their skills, their weaknesses. The other one has the skills and vice versa. And, you know, again, it's hard to argue. They're top of the league. They're doing really well. I think they've kept the most clean sheets. They've won the most games. He's scored a few as well, which is... It's not always easy for a defender, and it's not just from corners. He scored that lovely goal against Villa, I think it was, where he curled it into the top corner, or Palace or someone like that. But it's a beautiful goal, and he's playing with a lot of confidence. You can see he's happy on the pitch. He's enjoying his football, and he's just been really defensively sound. Another Arsenal player. My second centre-back is Lisandro Martinez. Now, I've gone with Martinez for two reasons. One, he's won the World Cup. You know, there's no other centre-backs currently in the league. Christian Romero, I do apologise, has won the league, but I don't think he's been good enough at club level. Now, another reason I've gone with Lisandro Martinez is because in terms of the disrespect that he's received and coming into the league, nobody thought he was going to be doing it. Everyone thought 5'9", 5'10", too small for a defender, too small for a centre-back. He's going to get bullied. He's going to get jumped on. He's not going to be good enough aerially. He's not enough physically. He's going to get dominated. He's not good enough. Now, Lisandro Martinez has come in, yes, against City in the 6-3, he got humiliated. Yes, in the 7-0 against Liverpool, he got humiliated. But those are just the 4-0 against Brentford. He only played one half. That half was the 4 goals, I know, but those are just 3 games out of a whole season. Out of 28 games now, there's 25 other games where he's performed reasonably well, if not exceptionally well. You look to the 2-1 against City, he performed very well. You look to the 2-1 against Liverpool earlier in the season, performed very well. The 3-1 against Arsenal performed exceptionally well. Against Barcelona, both legs. We conceded, yes, but he performed very well in both legs. In the final, he didn't give him and Varane didn't give Newcastle a sniffer goal, you know, and he only seems to be getting better. He's in the top 3 of aerial duels percentage wise. His passing distribution is amazing. His percentage of completed passes is immense. He wins a lot of tackles, and most importantly, you can see that he wants to be there because of the badge. With other players in the past, like Maguire, a lot of fans think he's just there for the money because obviously he will be on a lot of money. But we can see with Licha that he's there to fight for the badge and because he actually cares and wants to win something and bring United back to the glory days. And that's something that that's my dog. That's something that we've not seen in a long time at all. And Martinez, again, the doubters he's proved wrong. Nobody gave him the credit that he duly deserved coming into the league. And I just think he's proved him wrong. And that's why I think he's the second centre-back in my partnership. And for right-back, I've gone with Kieran Trippier of Newcastle, another Newcastle player. There is another Newcastle player on the bench, but we'll get to him in a minute. Now, with Kieran Trippier, it was a weird one. He left Spurs and joined Atletico Madrid, won a league title. Obviously, not many English players last long abroad. I mean, we've seen with Bellingham, it's likely he's going to return to England this season, this summer transfer window, sorry. I mean, Real Madrid is an option, but I think it will most likely be England that he returns back to. Now with Trippier, he came back to England and he joined the Newcastle side again. Like with Nick Pope, a lot of money. They probably could have gone out and bought a bigger name. They could have gone out and bought an Hakimi. They could have bought... It's difficult to do, obviously, but they've got the funds. This is just talking purely hypothetically, of course. They've got the money to do such thing, and to buy Kieran Trippier for close to 20 mil is a bargain, really, because, again, his distribution's brilliant, his crossing's brilliant, he can hit a free kick exceptionally well. He's led them to their first cup final in God knows how long, and didn't win it on the day, but to even get to the final is an immense achievement. To get them into European football is an immense achievement. And I just think he's been performing exceptionally well. He's not captaining the side, but he is a leader on the pitch. He keeps the team going. His transition play is brilliant. He keeps the ball moving forward, and he looks calm. He brings a lot of experience to that Newcastle side, which is what they need, a winning experience. Obviously didn't win anything with Spurs, but got to Champions League final and was regularly winning games consistently. Went to Madrid and won a league title in a period where Real Madrid and Barcelona were absolutely dominating it. And he brings that wealth of experience to the side, which Newcastle are looking for at the minute. They brought in Alexander Isak from Real Sociedad, who did really well. And they bring in Guimaraes, who's used to winning from where they brought him in from. And he looks like a calm and composed presence on the pitch, and he brings that wealth of experience. And I think as well, he's had a really good season, so that's why I've got Kieran Trippier. So on to my centre mids. First of all, he's always going to be in it, Kevin De Bruyne. I don't think there is anything that Kevin De Bruyne cannot do with a football at his feet. And I mean, a lot of this season, his passing style have changed. Just Haaland's in the box, and well, let me lump it up to him. But, he can hit across onto a sixpence. He anticipates where Haaland's going to be. He can anticipate where the wing is going to be. Other centre mids, he just reads the game so well, gets so many assists. And I think because he doesn't score a lot, to be fair to him, he does score, but not amazingly well, and less obviously because they've got Haaland in. But his assists are outrageous. I'm a Man United fan, and if I had to have one City player, it would obviously be Kevin De Bruyne every day of the week. I don't like any of the City players. I wouldn't want them anywhere near my club, but because of the rivalry, obviously. But if I had to have one, it would be Kevin De Bruyne. Sometimes you've got to take an objective stand in and take a step back and just appreciate the talent somebody has, even though they might be scoring or assisting against you. Sometimes you've got to say what an immense player he is, and that's what Kevin De Bruyne is. I don't think there's anybody that doesn't like him, because he is a likeable presence. He doesn't mess around off the pitch. He's a leader for City, even though he's not a massive hulking presence. He's nice and calm. He keeps the team ticking, much like Kieran Trippier in a way. He keeps the team moving. He's just like Kieran Trippier again. His transitional play is brilliant. He receives the ball from defenders, moves it forward. It's hard to argue that there is any other midfielder in the league currently, attacking midfielder, apart from maybe my next one, that's had a better season than De Bruyne. Other than the maybe other argument is that in terms of other seasons, his goal his assists have gone up, but his goals have come down. So maybe people might feel that he's had a bit of a letdown this season. My other centre mid is Casemiro. He has absolutely revolutionised Manchester United's midfield. We can see, he's banned for the next 3 games. We are going to miss him. We will probably drop. Out of our next 3 games, they are winnable games. But without Casemiro, we're then back to playing with Fred and McTominay, who have looked good this season. And obviously McTominay's on a nice scoring run for Scotland. But Casemiro just has obviously turned our midfield around and made it a scary midfield for teams to come up against, in that they know they're not going to get many chances. They know that they're not going to get many opportunities. And Casemiro just seems to be... A lot of people thought he was coming for the money, but we can see that he's obviously playing for passion. He's playing because he wants to be here, and that's something that we've not seen from a lot of Man United signings in recent years. The last person I saw it with, and that I still see it with now, is not in the same style of play, but Ander Herrera was very much like Casemiro is, in that he's a very quiet presence on the pitch. You don't hear his name often, and when you do, it's mostly praise. It's never, oh, Casemiro has lost the ball there. It's, oh, Casemiro has recovered the ball. He pings it forward. Casemiro has put in a tackle. Casemiro's won the ball. Casemiro's won the header. He has been sent off this season, but the Premier League is a very harsh league. And there's a lot of inconsistency in the refereeing. I mean, the tackle the other day that got his second red, 100% a red. We'll never argue with that. That's a red. But the tackle on Will Hughes, not tackle, the choking incident on Will Hughes, I do still agree that it's a red card. But my quarrel with it is it then happened in another game with Christian Romero in a Spurs game. He did the exact same thing and only saw yellow. Now, that's an issue for me, because it's just the inconsistency of it, in that I agree it's a red. We'll never disagree it's a red. You can't choke a player. End of. I love him, and I think he's an amazing player for United, but you can't do that. But then Christian Romero does it, gets away with it. That doesn't make sense in my head. Anyway, apart from that, in terms of ball distribution, tackle percentage won, dribbles completed, pass accuracy, there is none better in the league CDM wise than Casemiro. Rodri's obviously up there, but Casemiro, you look at the impact he's had on the team, he's just completely moved us from probably a 4 out of 10 midfield to, when everybody's fit in Casemiro, Eriksen, Bruno, an 8 out of 10 midfield. Obviously, Eriksen has been immense this season, but I think there is better out there, and we can get better out there. But he's doubled the strength and the rating of our midfield, just because we don't have to. Bruno can stay up, Eriksen can stay in that 8 role. Casemiro just does all the defending in the midfield. Bruno doesn't have to drop deep like he did last season when Fred and McTominay weren't defending well enough. Eriksen doesn't have to drop deep. He didn't play last season, but he doesn't have to do it because Casemiro is there. We saw in the early games Eriksen did have to play that CDM role before Casemiro had been brought in, and he didn't look good doing it. Bruno had to drop deep, and he didn't look good doing it. We bring him in, and all of a sudden we're keeping more clean sheets, we're conceding less goals, we're conceding less chances. Our possession stats have gone up, our passing accuracy has gone up, and Casemiro is, I think, the only reason really for that. And my final midfielder, Martin Odegaard. It goes without saying why this man is so good. He's captaining Arsenal to their first league title. I think they're going to win it. They could drop points, and City could come back. They've got the capabilities to do so, but I just think that Arsenal have run away with it now. So he's captaining Arsenal to the first side. He's scoring goals. He's a leader on the pitch at such a young age. I think he's only 24, 25. And he's captaining Arsenal, which is something that, normally reserved for an older player because of the status of the job. He wears the badge with pride. He embolises the team, does exactly what the manager wants of him, doesn't complain if he's taken off. He just is that natural leader, and I think that's a skill that he was, born with, really. But yeah, I think they're on even better than Casemiro in terms of midfielders. I think he's been better this season in terms of attacking midfielders. Wipes away the whole competition just because of what he's doing and what impacts he's having. A lot of these players are based on the impact they're having on the team and not the team as a whole. If I had to go with the team of the season based on one whole team, it would obviously be Arsenal. But you've got to look at the impact people are having on the team and the changes that they've come in. I mean, this is Odegaard's second or third season, and a couple of seasons have gone by, and he's impressed. But he's not. This is a whole new level of Martin Odegaard we're seeing. And he's only 24, 25. It's going to be another 2 or 3 years before he hits his prime. And I think he can only get better. So if he stays injury-free, I genuinely think once he retires, he is going to be one of Arsenal's all-time greats. Do I think they're going to win the league next season? No. I think if they do, it's going to be a lot tougher because obviously you're going to have City are going to want to get it back. Arsenal are going to want to do it again. Man United are going to have a better squad, hopefully, a proper number 9, backup midfielders that aren't Fred or McTominay, with the greatest of respect to them. We need better if we want to win the league title. You're going to have Chelsea that hopefully their squad starts gelling together and they start playing well. Spurs are going to have Julian Nagelsmann, who's one of the best up-and-coming managers in the world football. You're going to have Liverpool, who are maybe going to bring in Jude Bellingham, who's going to completely turn around their team, I think. So it's going to be almost a 6 or 7 horse. You're going to have Newcastle who are going to spend ridiculous amounts in the summer. Spurs are never in it. But, Nagelsmann will get them European football again. I think there's going to be a lot more competition next season. There's not going to be, United aren't going to get embarrassed as much next season. City are going to, have brought in more reinforcements, obviously, and they're going to be back to their domination, I think. I think it's going to be a lot closer next season if they do win it at all. But they've got to celebrate what they win now. Obviously not in any cup competitions, like I said, with Zinchenko and Saliba, but they're getting there. Arsenal are back. Mikel Arteta he's been given the time, which not a lot of managers get at the minute. If another manager in the league had the run of results that he had the past few seasons since he came in, he'd have been out of a job. But Arsenal and FSG have given Arteta a lot of time and a lot of resources to build his vision, and they've believed in the project, which has worked. And I think other clubs do need to take heed of that and take respect of, if you give a manager time, if you give a project time, if you give a project funds, it's gonna come true. Not in every case, obviously. Some cases it will just fail and it will never work, but you need to let a manager have his say and have his opinion on the team and have his change on the team. And the proof is in the pudding with Arsenal, really. It's worked. But yeah, Odegaard's clear of everyone else in the league, attacking midfield-wise. Right wing, another Arsenal player, Bukayo Saka. I feel like I've said everything else with Arsenal players. There's not much more I can really say to what Bukayo Saka has done. He's equalled his goal scoring record for a season, and it's only March. There's still 10 games to go. He is another leader on the pitch. Arsenal squad seems to be full of leaders, something which they've not had before. But yeah, I can't really say much else about Arsenal other than they've just been really good. Saka has been immense in a way that not many people thought he was going to be this good. People knew he'd be good, but people didn't know he'd be this good, is what I'm saying. So yeah, that's Bukayo Saka right wing. Left wing, again, easy choice, Marcus Rashford. Since the World Cup, there's been nobody better on a goal-scoring run than him. Obviously, Haaland has scored a lot recently, but in terms of goal-scoring runs, Rashford has been the best in the world, in Europe anyway. He had a dreadful season last season. Everybody at United had an awful season. but Rashford has come good. We see when we play him down the middle, it doesn't really work because striking number 9 at the minute at Man United is a graveyard shift. But when we see him on that left, there are no right backs in the league that can keep up with him. Maybe Reece James, but he's been out of contention with injury. But there are no real right backs in the league that can cope with him when we win, when he's on form, when he's playing well, because he is just pacey. He cuts inside. He knows where that sounds stupid, but he knows where the goal is. He can hit a shot from distance, from close in. He looks confident. He's enjoying his football again, something that he wasn't last season, because obviously he was having a bad season, but he's enjoying it once again, something which we want to see from Marcus Rashford, because we've seen, when he first broke onto the scene, he was loving his football and he looked really good last season. Arguably the season before that, the COVID season, he wasn't enjoying it. Maybe that was to do with the manager, maybe that was to do with who was playing around, because obviously with Ronaldo he wasn't getting as many chances because everything was just feed it Ronaldo, feed it Ronaldo, feed it Ronaldo, whereas now he's allowed to get the ball and do what he wants with it, which is what he's really good at, not being forced to pass inside every time, which can be an effective way of playing, but it's not Marcus' strength. Marcus' strength is cutting inside and having a shot, or cutting inside, working your way around, then laying a pass off, something like that, which he had to do a lot of the latter. When Ronaldo was at the club, he couldn't cut inside and have a shot himself. And then striker, who else? But I'm joking, not Alexander Isak. Erling Haaland, obviously. 30-something goals in the league, in all competitions this season, 20-something, 28 or something in the Premier League. He has wiped away the competition in terms of what he's done. I will be honest, at the start of the season, I didn't think he would be this good. Nobody thought he would be this good. It's a much tougher league. I thought he would do well to finish on 15 Premier League goals for this season, just because it's a much tougher league. People know who he is now. He's not sort of the unknown that he was a couple of years ago, but he is just complete. And I think a lot of people thought that too. I thought 15 goals in the first season for a youngster is a very good season for a new signing, coming into City, massive weight after they've let Sergio Aguero go. But he has just completely proven everybody wrong. I seriously doubt that there are many genuine fans who can honestly sit there and say that they thought he would score the level of goals he has this season. You can say you thought he was going to score a lot of goals, but not this amount of goals. This has just been a freak of nature, a completely isolated incident that nobody could have expected. And I just think, again, like Lisandro Martinez, in terms of beating the expectation, he's done that. He's coming from Bundesliga, which is a tough league. It's a tough league physically and mentally, to go into an even tougher and more mentally challenging league in the Premier League. Yes, he's had an upgrade in terms of squad, but it's also been an upgrade in terms of other squads that he's playing against. And he's just proven everyone wrong. You think back to Rory Jennings on Saturday Social saying he'd do well to get 10 league goals. That was shocking. I mean, I think mine's bad 15 league goals now looking at it, but I gave him a little bit more credit and thought, he's going to score goals. I mean, post-World Cup, he seemed, a shadow of his pre-World Cup self, but he's come back into it. 5 goals against Leipzig, a hat-trick in the next game. He's done really, really well. And it's hard to argue there's anyone better than him. Haaland, there's no other strikers in the league better than him. There's honourable mentions, but there's nobody better than Haaland, so that's why he gets into the team of the season. Now, I've picked 7 players from a bench. We're going to go through as quickly as we can. Alexis McAllister of Brighton, again, won a World Cup. He's led Brighton to top half of the table. I don't think they'll get European football, but I think they'll get 8th or 9th, which is an immense season for Brighton, considering they were nearly relegated last season. Graham Potter's gone. I thought that was going to be the catalyst that caused them to start doing poorly in the league, because because they were obviously doing well before he left, but I just think they've done really well still since he's gone. I think a lot of that's got to be attributed to Alexis McAllister. He's also won the World Cup. Again, Brighton player getting selected for the World Cup winning team is not something that you think 5 years ago I would be sitting here saying, but it happened. So that's why I think Alexis McAllister has got to be one of the honourable mentions. Next is Thiago Silva of Chelsea. Now, I don't think he's better than Lisandro Martinez or William Saliba this season, but he's 38. He's still one of the best defenders in the world. Obviously, Chelsea have had a poor season. They're currently in 10th. That's got to be considered, which is why I think he doesn't get in. But in terms of what he brings to Chelsea, he brings a level of composure when he plays. Obviously, his injury record does go against him. But again, in terms of what he's doing, at 38, lots of players would just go abroad to Turkey or China, Japan, which he could do, and go and get a really big payday and then just retire. But he's chosen to stick it out at Chelsea. It was supposed to be a one-year deal, but this is his third season now with Chelsea. He just seems to show no signs of decline. Sure, he's gotten slower, but the way he reads the game, the way he composes himself, the way he acts on the pitch is just second to none. It's really, there is no one better this season, in my opinion, than Thiago Silva in terms of centre-backs, other than the ones I've said. But I think Thiago Silva's got to be third choice in the team. Another one I've gone for, a player that's quite often not disrespected, but disregarded in the debate of top Premier League players. It's Riyad Mahrez. I think there are better players in the City squad, but in terms of what he brings to the table and the fact that he does often go underappreciated in that City squad, I think he's a really good player. I think every other team in the league would snap him up in a heartbeat. I think any club in the world would take Riyad Mahrez just because of his, he doesn't really complain about not starting. When he comes off the bench, he always seems to perform well. He consistently plays well. He doesn't consistently get goals and assists, but he does score goals and assists at a good enough rate. So yeah, I think Riyad Mahrez has got to be an honourable mention in the team of the season. Next, I've gone for Bruno Guimaraes of Newcastle again. Again, like I've said with Pope and Trippier, those factors have got to be considered for Bruno. But another thing is that he's getting them a lot more chances. He's getting them a lot more assists. It's like with Casemiro, when he got sent off in the Carabao Cup game in the semi-final. He missed those 3 games. There was the semi-final, 3 games, then the final, and he missed those 3 games in the Premier League. And they just weren't creating the level of chances that they were with him in the team. They weren't playing as well. They got a lot of draws. I think they lost. When I think if he'd have been in the team, they'd have probably won it. So yeah, Bruno Guimaraes again. I've gone for another one, my 5th honourable mention, Gabriel Martinelli. He has been another player like Saka, unreal this season. He had an arguably poor season last season, but he has just stepped up his game. He's really showing now people what he can do. Obviously, Rashford, I think, is still better than him and he's having a better season. But Martinelli is, again, leading Arsenal towards a title. And he's scoring a lot of goals on the way, getting assists. He's feeding balls into Nketiah and Gabby Jesus, who's just coming back into the fold. His first touch is brilliant. He can, like Rashford, he can score one from distance or just score a tap-in, which not a lot of players are good at. It's either one or the other. It's like we see with Xhaka and Partey. They like a screamer from outside the box, whereas someone like Haaland does, for all the credit he gets, he does like a tap-in. But take nothing away from Martinelli. He's been very good this season. And I think like Rashford, like Saka, like Odegaard. He's very young, and if this is good now, imagine what he's going to be like next season, with a Premier League winners medal behind him, and then the season after that, and the season after that, and the season when he continually improves, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. And Brazil and Arsenal have got a lovely little player on their hands, and for when Neymar retires, they've got Vinny Jr., who I think is better than Martinelli, but Martinelli is still going to be second choice. He can play down the middle if Richarlison drops off or they don't get anyone coming through the youth system. But again, Martinelli second only to Marcus Rashford, which isn't a bad thing to say at all. My penultimate honourable mention is Harry Kane. This season has broken a lot of records. He's become England and Tottenham Hotspur's all-time leading goal scorers, knocking off Jimmy Greaves and Wayne Rooney. He scored 25 league goals this season, which, or 21, sorry, which would be grabbing the headlines any other season, but just because of what Haaland's been doing, it's going under the radar so much. And I think he's not getting the credit he deserves for it, which he should be, really. But he's just not. If Haaland wasn't in the league, he would be Golden Boot winner. He'd be in that debate for the greatest striker of all time. I think he's not the greatest striker of all time, maybe greatest striker of our generation, arguably, because of what he's achieved. I think he's going to get closer and closer to that all-time Premier League goal scoring record if Haaland doesn't beat him there first, that is. But yeah, I think if you remove Haaland from the equation, he is the best striker in the league. He's having the best season. Spurs haven't won anything yet again, but that's no surprise. But again, it's just that thing of 21 league goals season, 21 league goals in a season, we're only in March, it's an incredible season, but just because of what Haaland has done, it looks incomparable. My final one, you can't not have this man, Mo Salah. He's not had the best season in terms of what he's normally producing, but he does still look like such a class player on and off the ball. He makes good runs. He's still rapid. He still looks, although they're not winning at the same level they were, he still looks like he could win a game for Liverpool by himself. In terms of expected goals, chances created, there is few and far between better than him. And again, the argument against him will be that he's had a shocking season personally. I think that's a case to be made that Salah's in that debate. They're my 7 honourable mentions, or a bench, should we say. Now, my manager of the season, you've probably guessed it, Mikel Arteta. I feel like I don't really need to say much more about what Arsenal have achieved. I've gone through it 4 or 5 times already, and I feel like I'm repeating myself. But it's like I said earlier about the whole vision thing. Arsenal have massively improved in every area of the pitch since last season, and that's because Arteta's been given time. A lot of the fans this time last season were Arteta out. They were for a massive proportion of the season, but I can guarantee none of those fans are Arteta out now. None of them. Because he's done something that not many managers have been able to achieve in the past, is that they've been given time to work their magic. They've been given time to do what they need to do on the pitch, and that is something that we see very regularly nowadays. But I think Arteta will only improve over time. He's obviously learned a lot from his time with Pep Guardiola. We see that the style of play from Arsenal is very similar to what we've seen in City's past teams. It's just total possession football, passing. It's a passing game. It's trying to, at some points to a fault, trying to score the perfect goal. Trying to get the Instagram shot of a player whipping it in from 30 yards or launching yourself onto a cross. But Arsenal have been immense this season. And Arteta's the manager behind it. And I don't think there's been any managers better than him. Because obviously they're top of the league. In my mind, the club that wins the league is the manager of the league. There's no other way of arguing about that. You can say, oh, but he won 5 games in a row. He beat Liverpool and City back to back. Oh, he did this, he did that. But they didn't win the league. The manager that wins the most games, gets the most points, scores the most goals, concedes. The manager that wins the league gets manager of the year. That's just how in my mind, it works. So yeah, we'll go through it all one last time very quickly. Goalkeeper Nick Pope. Right, left to right, Zinchenko, Saliba, Martinez, Trippier, Casemiro, Odegaard, De Bruyne, Rashford, Haaland, Saka, and the bench, Salah, Cade, Martinelli, Bruno Guimaraes, Riyad Mahrez, Thiago Silva, and Alexis McAllister. That is if the season ended right now, that's my team of the season. Also kind of what is my predicted team of the season for the end of the season, if it stays as it currently is. Let me know your thoughts down below. If you want me to talk about anything else, do let me know and I'll get on that. See you in a bit, mate.